And we're live. Hey there, everyone. This is Lynn Hamilton, your lead instructor. You know that by now. So just want to say welcome to this class. This is part 2 of our DISC. It's how to communicate with your clients who are obviously going to be a different DISC style than you are. So we're going to go through that today. And if you notice on I got my little chameleon here. Let's see which way can I turn it. There we go. I got my little chameleon here on my collar. So hopefully, I don't think it's going to turn colors, but you know. All right. So anyway, I want to thank you for being here with us today. So as always, we're just going to go ahead and jump right on in. For those who hopefully have already taken the DISC 1 class and the DISC assessment, a quick reminder, if you have not, make sure that you listen to the DISC part 1. And then if you want to take, which I encourage you to do, the DISC assessment, my favorite one is through Tony Robbins. I've got no skin in the game on that one. It will cost you $24.95 for the report, but the report will come back to you in a graph with charts like this. This is what I find valuable. So if you are willing to do that for me, send it to me. I will, as a thank you, set up a one-on-one with you for about 30 minutes to go over where your strength is, but also where your blind spot is. And we use that to help guide you. So that's what that is. All right, special thanks, as always, to Cardinal Title. They are the ones that sponsor all of the training here at Samson, and we cannot do it without them. So thank you to Cardinal Title. We're going to start with our quick suggestions and reminders. First off, the front page of all of our handouts are designed to be your checklist and your task list to do. As always, 3-hole punch them, put them in a 3-ring binder. If you're here with me live, you probably got them already 3-hole punched, because I did that for you before I left the office, and just add them to your binder, and that way you've got them ready to reference back to. That way, too, if we're ever going to have a conversation, either with me, your mentor, your coach, your manager, whatever, let them see your binder in terms of what you've gotten completed versus what you still need to do, and that'll just make our time together much more effective and more efficient for you. And as always, the little number at the bottom of the page coincide with the number that's on the slides, so that way you can keep track of where we're at. All right, a couple of reminders of our class rules. Always, phones off or silent, because you know me, I'll want to answer them. Next, I want you to be open to some new ideas. A lot of times people have never considered what DISC can or can't do for them, and so I just want you to be open to this new kind of concept, if you will. And it's not a one and done, so I'd go back and listen to it once or twice and just kind of get immersed into it a little bit. It'll be a game changer for you. As always, may I have your permission to be blunt and honest with you, tell you what you need to know, not always what you want to hear. And yes, I will pick on all DISC styles, mine included. So next, hear my heart, forgive my mouth. Usually I'm pretty good now. I'll give you a warning if it's coming out. You do have to laugh at my stupid jokes. There you go. Okay, thank you. But I want you to learn something new. And so at the end of class, I'm going to ask you, what was your aha? What was your takeaway? In other words, what was that new boing light that went on? But also, too, what's your takeaway? What is the one thing that you can go, okay, I never knew about that. I never understood that. I never had the concept of that. I can now take that and put it into action immediately. That's what we want to hear from. We'll do that at the end of the class. And again, this information, like any other information you get, is no good unless, of course, you put it into action. So that's what I'm hoping that you will do. Boom. We good? We good. Thumbs up. Let's go. All right. So quick reminder, on Thursdays every week from 11 to 12, I do a Q&A session. The link is for you on the Cardinal Nest on the calendar. Please go take a look at it. Join me. We talk about basically where you're bumping your toe, as I call it, in executing out your jumpstart sessions or other sessions we've done. So that is your time to catch me and ask questions, and it's open, and we have a lot of fun. Okay? As always, we want to start with your words of wisdom. So I pulled this one. Usually I have something profound from somebody, world-renowned. Yeah, not this one, it's just me. Have you ever done a listing appointment with a buyer side or sale side, and you walked out and went, nailed it, I was spot on, I got it, I said everything on cue, on time, I nailed it. And then you found out 2 days later they went with or signed with another agent. Has anybody ever had that happen? I'm seeing hands popping up in class. That is because they were one DISC style and you were the other. You did not communicate with them in a way that made sense to them, that they could track and they could follow. So I hate to say it was your fault, but you didn't know any better. So this is why understanding enough about DISC that you're able to have your radar up as to what you are, but it allows you to have your radar up into what they are, what's important to them, and talk to them on their level, okay? And when we get into that today, you're going to start going, aha, I get it now. So again, it's about understanding what's important to them, and that comes off of, if you will, understanding or at least seeing what their personality style is, okay? So we're going to do a quick review of the backstory a little bit on DISC. It is the DISC component. The whole goal there is to become the chameleon. You change colors based off the environment that you are in. Isn't that cute? We need a name. You guys need to come up with a name for my little chameleon here. So come up with something creative and let me know. Message me on that one. All right. So quick reminder that we covered this in Jumpstart or in session 1 of the DISC is everyone's personal preferred behavioral style. It is how you act just normally. It's how you can adapt as well a little bit. It is, your effortless, natural style. It becomes your behavioral style, okay? Now, what is behavior? Behavior is a manner in which you conduct yourself. Now, it is not based off intelligence, values, beliefs, skills, experience, education, training, motivation, or ethics. It's just, it is what it is, if you will. DISC is a style assessment, not a skills assessment. So we can alter our DISC, if you will, by learning how to become that chameleon a little bit. There is one style that is no better than another. So we're all equal. We all have DISC as part of our component of who we are and how we operate. And again, as you can see by this chart, yes, we have all of the above, and it just depends on which is higher and which is lower. So there you go. All right, so the bottom line for preferred behavior is how we think, how we act, how we feel, how we react, how we behave, how we speak. And so, yes, we may be stronger in one area at home and stronger in another area in our business life as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. Is it fading out? Okay. It just says I influencer. So simple guidelines in dealing with each behavior is don't ignore the wisdom that comes with understanding the different profiles. Everyone is cut from a different cloth. You've all heard that before. Let this guide you, not limit you. We want to respect the differences, draw from where your weaker side is, your blind spot, and tap into those who are stronger where you're weaker. And then, of course, we never want to belittle someone for who they are and where their strength is. Now, that being said, except for me, no. There's a couple in class, they're giggling already because they know what's coming. I have done, I've been doing DISC for years. I'm a certified DISC instructor as well, so I know it on a different level. But a couple of you in class, I've already, got your assessments done. And so I'll behave and not pick on some of them too bad today. But it is good. But it's interesting. One in particular that comes to mind, mentioning no names, of course, it gave us a great foundation in which to communicate, because I can say, okay, that's your D, and that's a high end of you, but when this is happening, that's happening because your S and C are much lower. And so again, it's bringing attention to the juggling, the balancing act, bringing all the style together to get it up into a range that works better. So there you have it. All right, so how we learn. You've heard me say this in other classes as well. We learn in one of three ways. We are either visual, that we need to see it. We are auditory, which means we need to hear it. Or we're kinesthetic, which means we need to feel it. Which is why these classes and everything else, it's visual, it's auditory, and it's kinesthetic. That's why I make sure that you all have a handout, because some of us have to have that. Also, too, when we talk about the buyer consultation and the seller consultations and the importance of being visual, auditory, and kinesthetic with those, because again, you do not know what your client is. And when you take a look at either the buyer consultation or the seller consultations, we've already done those training sessions for you that are up in the Cardinal or Samson University for you. You've got several platforms that you can use. But the point is, it hits the D, the I, the S, and the C personality style within that format and within that structure. Because again, if somebody is visual and kinesthetic, which means they need to see it and they need to touch it, and you are auditory, you're going to go in and talk, and you don't have anything to leave them, you just lost them. I heard a damn out of here, okay? But that's why, and that is why we give it to you in the formats that we do, because it's going to hit the D, the I, the S, the C. It's going to hit the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learner, because again, unless you've done an assessment with them before you go meet them, which is probably not going to happen, you come in with everything ready to go, okay? So, does that make sense so far? Give me a yes. Yes, okay. All right, so for fun, we're going to do this little exercise again on page 2 of your handout. Grab yourself a pen, pencil, crayon, lip liner, I don't care. On one of the boxes on the left-hand side, I want you to write your name with your dominant hand. And then in the other box, you'll put your utensil of choice in the other hand and write your name in the other box with your non-dominant hand. Either way. Don't matter if it's cursive or writing. The exercise to that is, yes, you did it. This is hard. You're right, because you're pulling from a different part of the brain that you normally don't use. So if you're right-handed, in a heartbeat, okay? Easy breezy, didn't even have to think about it. When you did it in your non-dominant hand, you literally had to stop and think about which way the letters had to go. That is just how our brains work. And that's how it connects to the disc side of it as well, because where you're dominant, you're just going to roll smooth as silk. But in the areas that using your other hand, that's where your weaker side is. And so again, by learning to become that chameleon, you will balance it out. So again, I wanted to throw that one back in there for fun. Quick review. Your D, your I, your S, your C. Your outgoing and task-oriented people are your Ds. Dominant, determined, demanding, sometimes, driven, and they're doers. Hello, they're doers. Now, a lot of times, they will jump in, they'll identify the problem or the situation, they'll jump in, and then while they're jumping in and running, then they'll figure out what I need to do once I'm in here, okay? Donnie and Sarah are probably watching this or going to listen to it at some point. I'm going to say, my guess, I've not had them done this, they've not been tested. I would say that Donnie and Sarah both have a strong D personality style in them. You agree with that? I'm getting yeps all across, which is great, because in an organization of this size and a strong organization, they need to have a strong D leader. So kudos to the two of them. They are in the right position for the jobs they've got. They will jump in, they'll get the task done, they're determined. Yes, they're demanding, but the demanding is, I'm going to say, of excellence or doing your best. And that's what they expect. So, and that's good. And again, you want that visionary who can look. They're not looking at what needs to be done next week, because they've already planned that out like 3 months ago. They're looking down the road. What do we need to be doing in 3 months? What do we need to have in place in 6 months or 9 months or a year down the road? Do you think this new office space came up overnight? It'd probably been on the radar for quite some time. So that is part of that D-driven doers, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the S is the supportive, they're sensitive, they're stable, they're in for being a servant, and they want to take care, but they're also very task-orientated as well. So the I is the one that's the influencer. They're the ones that want to make things happen. They want to make sure everybody's having a good time doing it, and they want to make sure that the tasks are all going to get done. Your C personality is one that is cautious. They're creative. They're also very curious, but they're also coordinators. So they're going to make sure that everybody's all together, okay? We're going to pause there one quick second because I'm going to take a sip of water. Don't go away. I'll be right back. I shut this off. Don't know why. Okay, I'm back. Did you miss me? Okay. You can just take my whole purse. Yep. Stick it in the trash. It weighs a ton, by the way. Yep, that's it. Yeah, okay. All right, we're back. All right, so that is the quick 30,000-foot view of your DISC, your task-orientated, your people-orientated, the ones that are outgoing, and the ones that are more reserved. Make sense? Good refresher? Good, we're moving on. All right, we're talking about learning styles. Obviously, you've got the D, who's the racer. Fast-paced, big picture, independent learner, what's in it for me? Your I is going to be the fast-paced, interactive, we are going to have fun, or I'm going to make sure it's fun. If it ain't fun, we ain't doing it. But we're going to have fun doing it, okay? Group projects. Who else is doing it is the question that I would have. Oh, wait, I'm an I too. So who else is doing it? Your S is the steady, very systems. They are a little more of a slower pace. They are one-on-one learners. They like to take notes. Sometimes they will ask, sometimes they won't. But they're going to take notes. Okay. Your C. They are the ones that are the thinkers. A little slower pace. They need details. They want structure. They want a schedule. And is it accurate? Your C's are going to be the ones, along with your S's, that there better be a bullet point and a checklist. Okay? Now, if you've already done the classes on buyer consultation, seller consultation, think back to that for a second. There are several components in there that are bullet points. Not sentence and sentence and sentence and sentence to create a paragraph. It's bullet point. That is to hit these personality types. The D wants to be able to skim it real quick. They don't want to waste their time in reading a whole big paragraph of stuff. Give me the bullet points. Your S, again, they want to be able to learn it, at their pace. It's important to them. Your C's, again, they want to see their structure. They want to see there's a to-do list. Those are the ones that want to hear our next step is. What is our next step? My next step is this. Your next step is this. My next step is this. Your next step is this. If you, and for a D personality type to do that, yeah, I'm hearing the sighs over here. Yep, okay. It's going to drive, oh wait, there's one in the back too. That's going to drive them stark raving mad. If you're a high D, you're going to want to drink by noon on Monday. If you are a high D and you are dealing with someone who's a high C, OMG. You're telling them to just make a friggin' decision and sign. And they're going, but I need to read it first. I need to double check it. I need to make sure these numbers are correct. Right? Right? Okay, I've talked to a few of you. I know stuff. All right? So this is where, they're laughing. This is where knowing what you are but understanding the strength or the weakness of the client is going to come in handy as well. Because again, if you're a high D, you know who I'm talking to, okay? And you've told me, so I know this, but I'm not calling anybody out, and you've had a high C personality client that you were working with, you just want to go, sign the dang papers. Come on, make a decision, let's go. Right? Yeah, okay, they're giggling at me. But that's okay. But here's the problem. If you just kick them to the curb because you can't deal with them, that was a $10,000 kick to the curb. Think about that one for a minute. Which makes more sense? Suck it up, understand how they function and work within how they function, or kick $10,000 commission to the curb? Your call. What do you think? Kick him to the curb or suck it up? Suck it up, buttercup. You betcha. Okay? So again, we have some giggles with this and we have some fun with this, but it really does let you see the weight and the power of this information. Now, I will tell you a story. Back in my early days in real estate, I had a client, great lady. Her husband had been a pharmacist. Okay, I'm going to ask you here in a minute, what do you think he was? What do you think she was? He was a pharmacist. No room for error. She was an accountant, and then after he passed and sold the business, she had a beautiful home that was custom built in a very nice area of San Diego, and had kind of gotten taken advantage of by some of her friends and church people as she was starting to liquidate down the house belongings. And she called me one day and said, we were just kind of getting acquainted, getting ready to sign, and she says, so my friends at church told me I needed to ask you for a list of how many of the transactions in La Mesa were done by your brokerage. I'm thinking, what? What? Come on. Yeah, really. I'm sure those friends were well-meaning. But I thought, I've never been asked this before. Does it really make a difference? Obviously, it makes a difference to her. So I kind of stepped back and said, okay, wait a minute. You teach the basic disc. I know what I was. I considered and looked at what she was. Based off her job and that kind of a question, what do you think she was? C? Anybody else? C? You agree? Spot on. If I would have tested her, I'm sure she would have been off the Richter scale. So I did what she asked. I pulled the information. Yes, but I get you. Yeah. So I got her the information, and sure enough, it showed that the brokerage that we were at actually dominated that area, even though our office was just over the line into the other community. So literally, we dominated both. So I was able to give her that. Now I'm intrigued. So now I'm searching the next zip code, and the next zip code over, and the next zip code over after that, and come back with, okay, look what I found. So I sent her the information, and I sent her the additional information that said, hey, I came across this as well, thought you might find it interesting. Let me know if you have any questions. Boom. Never did we have a hiccup or a glitch again. She was so appreciative of the fact that I was able to provide the information because she was very analytical. Being in the pharmacy world, being in the accountant world, you ain't a penny off. I mean, if her books would have been a penny off, she'd have taken that penny and squeezed it so hard, she could probably get the booger to come out of Lincoln's nose to make sure that it was balanced. Yes, you laughed at my stupid jokes. I've been waiting to tell that one. So, okay. But that was what was important to her, was to check the data, check the information, know that it was correct, and analyze the numbers. We were great after that. So we just moved together through the rest of the transaction, smooth as silk. Okay, there you go. So let's talk a little bit more about what your clients are. All right. How to determine what your client's style is. Here's some tips. If they are D, they are going to be very demanding, bottom line. They're going to want to focus on the what, not the how. They don't know how, they don't want to hear how you are going to create the flyer. They do not want to hear how you're going to stage the house. They don't want to hear how you're going to do what you're going to do. They want to know what. Bam, 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 bam. Cut the get to the bottom line. That's what they want. Okay? Your eyes are going to be, what's going to be important to them is about the social interacting, how the community fits in. If there is a community or HOA that has a community center or a pool or a golf course or a dog park or any of that type of stuff, that is stuff that's going to be important to the eye. They want to know how to engage in interacting with others. So that would be an important component for them. Your S's are warm and friendly, but they're also going to be slow to change a little bit. They're going to want to read everything. And who is worse than that are the C's. They want to read everything, not once, maybe twice. They want to know, and they're going to double check that the information's correct. God forbid there be a missing comma on a contract, they will find it. And they will point it out to you. And let there be a typo or a oops in your presentation anywhere, they will find it. Okay? Now, funny story, but not funny. But it gives you an example of really how to work with these different personality types. So when I was doing the seminars in California, they had put together a new or an updated workbook. Well, apparently they were in a rush and apparently didn't have it proofed completely. Y'all know where this one's going, I bet. So we show up at seminar and I'm flipping through and going, oh dear Lord. And I thought, okay, fine. So I'm thinking nobody's going to notice. Yeah, right, that wasn't happening. So a gal came to me at break and said, do you guys realize there's a bunch of typos in here? And I went, we discovered it. Well, she says, well, you know, I apologize, but she was a retired college English professor and a C personality type. So I said, okay, you want to do me a favor? She goes, sure, because she had already been highlighting it up. I gave her a second book. I gave her highlighters and said, as you're going through this, mark up everything that's incorrect, where it's got mistakes, where it's missing a comma, whatever, because she could do it just like that. And I said, then, when you bring it back to me at the end of the seminar, I'll make sure it gets updated. But as a thank you, will you join the staff and I for lunch tomorrow? She's like, oh, wow, yeah, that'd be awesome. It's like, okay, we're on. So we cheated, and I got the entire thing edited at no charge. So I went back to the owners and said, guys, come on, really? But I had it edited for them by a college professor. Boom. All right. But that's the C. And for her, it was second nature. She loved it, loved being able to do it, and was so excited that I even asked, and she was just excited to be able to go have lunch with the staff. So it was cool. All right. So when you can identify and pick up on those traits, work with it. I mean, I could have told my client I didn't have that information. I did. But if I didn't want to do it, I would have probably lost her. Almost $12,000 commission, if I do recall correctly. Was it worth it to do it? It took me about 30 minutes to do, yes. And then it gave me bragging rights because then I knew. Okay, there you have it. All right. Okay, let's talk about the communication styles again, just as a quick refresher. You've got your 4 personalities, you've got your 3 learning styles. We're going to talk about communicating with a punch, showing homes to each style, and then tips during the transaction with each style as well. That is what's next. So take a deep breath and let's hit it. Your high Ds are looking for results and efficiency. Do not walk into a house with a D and say, here's the kitchen, isn't it cute? Here's the living room. Here's the bathroom. Because at that point, they're going to look at you and go, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I've never seen a bathroom before? Do you think I've never seen a kitchen before? Do you think I've never seen? Yeah. Now, they may not actually say that, but that's what's going through their head. It's like, really? There you have it. All right. You do want to be direct and task-orientated with them. When you listen to them speak, they will usually be quick and clear. Mirror them back, being quick and clear as well. Now, if you're an I, you got to be careful because they don't want to hear the whole story. They don't want to hear all the fluff and stuff that goes with it. They want details down. If you are an S or C and they're the high D, again, you got to be careful because you're going to be a little more methodical and they're going to want to punch you out. Not you punch them out. They're going to want to punch you out. So again, just pay attention to the tone and the pace in which they speak, and that should give you kind of a heads up to say, okay, where do they fall? In a couple more minutes, we're going to give you some more stuff. All right. Direct and to the point. House was built in 2010, has got 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, X number of square footage on this type of lot. Not. When the house was constructed in 2019, whatever it was, they don't want the story. They want the data. Okay? So keep that in mind. They like to set small goals and kind of as minimal steps. So that is where, okay, our next step is now this. Your next step is this. My next step is this. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom. I'm seeing some heads nodding, sinking in. Okay, good. All right. Communicating with the I, they're looking for the experience. We're going to have fun. We're going to make sure that it's fun. You want them planning the parties at the office, by the way. Okay? You don't want a D necessarily doing it. They'll come and have fun, but you don't want the D planning it. Well, not always. Okay? They want to make sure that everybody's having a good time and that everyone's having fun. And yes, we will ask lots of questions. You take me to a party, I will work the room. Us eyes can do that in a nanosecond. We come back with some of the greatest stories and some of the greatest experiences from that event. That's just what we do on autopilot. The D is going, really? Why did you need to know that? So if you're an I and married to a D, you kind of get that, kind of get it. Okay? All right. There you go. Okay. In dealing with your S's, S's are also looking for security. They're looking for steady and systems. Yes, they're very people-orientated. They're very warm and stable. Very much the peacemakers. We want to make sure that both sides are good. Okay? But they're not always a fast risk taker. They want to think about it. They want to make sure. Because security is important to them, and they want to make sure that they're not going to get into something they can't get out of if they make a bad decision. They almost go into, what is it, paralysis from analysis. I'm hearing uhs. Okay? So that's just one thing to keep in mind with your S's, that they will analyze, double check. And there's a couple that I did a couple of quick coaching sessions, and there was one when I looked at his disc, I knew exactly where the challenges were going to come, because he was going to analyze everything to the point of doing nothing. So you need to be careful if that's you or you see that trait in a client. And a great comeback to them is if they're overanalyzing, if they want to think about it before they write an offer. Okay, that's fine, but in the market that we have right now, again, it's show and tell. You would bring up the chart that shows what's gone under contract in the number of days on the market. You need to show them, not just tell them. Show and tell becomes your best friend. And it's okay, Laura, if you want to think about it overnight or for a couple of days. Are you going to be okay with somebody else sleeping in your house in 30 days? And it's not you. Give them something to think about. Okay? So that's a good one to come back to them on. Okay? All right, so let's talk real quick about communicating with your C's. Again, they're looking for information. The more information you can, I'm going to say dump on them, the better off they're going to like it. They want to be able to analyze. So again, all the graphs and charts that we have available to us, boom. Yes. Have those in your buyer and seller consultations. Those two new great ones showing that Samson's kind of taken over the industry. Any of that other data about what's going on in the market, whether it's up, whether it's down, whether days on markets, whether all that stuff, your C is going to think you are the cat's meow. Because you are talking to them in your language. Now, if you're a D, that don't mean diddly squat to you and you don't necessarily care. You may look at it and go, fine, okay? But they're going to analyze it. If you don't provide it to them, you're probably going to end up losing them. Because again, you're not talking to them in the level that they need, right? And that's important. They're methodical. They're also very careful. Now, your C's are typically going to be the ones that also want to read the contract. Page by page, item by item, before they sign it. I had a client like that one time. Met with them. It was the first $750,000 purchase. My first transaction out as a new agent. Sat down with them. She reads page 1, hands it to him. He reads page 1, hands it back to her. She initials it, hands it back to him. He initials it, and then they go on to page 2. We had a 14-page contract. I swear to God, I thought I was going to be there until Christmas, and it was July, May, June, somewhere in there. June. I literally thought I was going to be there till Christmas. Now, what would you guess she was? She was in the medical field. She was a nurse. Analytical. She was going to read every word, every instruction. Now, that made her a damn good nurse, but a pain in the butt for client for a few minutes. Okay? Now, you'll never guess what he was. Anybody want to take a guess? Engineer, kind of, sort of. He was a Navy SEAL. Think about it for a second. Very analytical, is going to read every word of every set of instructions, will not miss a beat, will remember everything. Yeah. But they were both literally about ready to cause me to start drinking. But then it dawned on me, okay, she's this, he's this, got it. Okay. So what I did was after we got past that round, I said, I know there's more stuff coming that you guys are going to need to review and sign. I have an idea. Why don't I prep you a draft copy? I'll get it to you, what's up and coming, and then you guys can read it at your leisure. And then when it comes time for us to fill in the blanks, that way when we sit down, you can double check me to make sure I didn't miss anything. Now they thought I was like spot on. Because what did I do? I talked their language. I'm going to have you double check me to make sure I've not missed anything and I've got everything in there in the fill in the blanks correctly. There you go. Okay, so that's how you would respond back or handle with someone who is of that methodical process, especially if that's not you naturally. Again, you either connect with them or you're going to lose them. Okay? All righty. Let's take a look at, on page 6 of your charts, I want to hit a couple things of how to best communicate with these various styles. I've got it kind of, broken down there for you, but here's what I want to point out to you. Don't ask a D how they feel about X, Y, or Z. Because in their mindset, it doesn't make any difference how we feel. Does it make sense? Do the numbers work out? Is it to my advantage? Okay, what did you say? I won't repeat that, but yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, nothing to do with the feelings, okay? So do not ask them how they feel about something. But you do want to ask them, what do you think about this? Does this home appear to be a good match? Do the numbers match up with what you're hoping to achieve? Because that's what's going to be important to them. Again, they don't need you to tell them, here's the kitchen, isn't it cute? Okay? All right. When you get a chance, look over the other bullet points that are on page 6 of your handout, and that's going to help kind of give you some guidance. All right? Let's talk about your eye. Don't ask them to analyze the data, because we don't want to do it. Ask them, they're the ones you ask, how do you feel about this? Because it's all, for the eyes, it's all about the feel. Does this feel right? Does this, yeah. Yep, okay. All right, so that is the biggest takeaway for dealing with the eyes, is obviously they want to have fun, add humor, don't labor on the details. They seek recognition of fun, but they're also, their fear. But a great question to ask them is, how do you feel about this? Could you see yourself living in this home? Could you see yourself making this place your home? That's the feel part. Now, if you take someone out, and again, it could be him or her or whatever, and they're looking, going, oh, the Christmas tree would be great here, and then this would be great for this. Yeah. They're looking about the fun. They're looking about how entertainment can be done at the house. And that often falls into the I category. Okay? So just keep an eye out for that. When you're dealing with your S, can you understand why this is important? Can you understand why this is important? So, Katie, can you understand why it's important to make a decision relatively quickly as to whether this home meets your needs because of the average days on market and things selling so fast? Do you understand why I'm asking, you to make a decision? Okay, and they'll usually go, okay, now they're getting it. Okay. Then here's another important one, especially with your S's and your C's as well. When will you be able to make a decision? When? Because if not, they will tell you someday. I've looked on my calendar for years. Someday is not a day of the week. I've checked. It ain't there. Because if it is, we're all in trouble. Okay? So a great question to ask is, when can you get those papers back to me? When can you get these documents filled out and back to me? Or I need to have them within 2 days. Does that work on your end? You're giving them when it needs to be done. Because if not, they're going to drag their feet and it's not going to get done till a week from Sunday later. I'm not looking at anybody. Get over yourself, okay? The comment was, the D's sometimes feel like you're bothering people, and I said, get over yourself. Because again, yes, I understand that may be how you're feeling, and yes, D's do have feelings every once in a while, but your S's and your C's are looking for that structure. They need to know what is the next step. Your I's need to know what the next step is. Your D needs to know what the next step is, because none of them want you to waste their time. So what is the next step? And you've heard me reference that before. It's become next step obsessed. In fact, we just did a class a few weeks ago on the best one-liners. It's a great class. Go back and listen to it. But it's becoming the next step obsessed. What is my next step? What is your next step? Let me know when you're done. And the day you get the call from your client that says, okay, Lynn. They probably won't call you Lynn, but they call me Lynn. I did this. You said my next step was this. I got it done. What is my next step from there? That is when you get on your desk and do the happy dance around, because you know you've got them by your side going step by step by step through the process. They're not worrying about X, Y, and Z down the road. You've got the blinders on them, they've got their blinders, and they're ready to go, okay, what's my next step? What do we do next? Because again, your Ds don't want their time wasted. Your S's and C's don't want to be taken advantage of, or they're scared to make a decision, or so you're just guiding them through one step at a time. Okay? Can we all say boom? Boom. Boom, boom chakalaka. Okay? One of the other things on a C is you can ask them to double check the data, or double check your data, or double check your numbers, because they're going to go, yes, and they're excited to do so. You can also ask them, how will you know when this is the right house for you? Okay, that is a good one to have as well. How will you know when you have found the right house? Then they will tell you the numbers make sense. If they tell you the numbers make sense, what are they, a D, I, S, or C? D. That'd be my guess. Okay? They will know the numbers. Okay? If you ask them, how will you know this is the right home? And they say, it's just going to feel right. I. Okay? If you ask them, how will you know that when this is the right home for you, and they're an S or C, what do you think their response will be? Because, or it'll have everything I want, or it's going to provide, close to the schools for the kids. They'll get into logical stuff. Okay? So good answers, everybody. You guys are good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here's a little bit more. Take a deep breath, get some oxygen going in the brain, communicating with each behavioral style. Now, this is in your handouts as well. I just got some highlights here. Let me see. I need to go back. There we go. All right. So on page 8 of your handout, starts on page 8, goes to page 10. You'll find this cute little icon on there. So when you are talking or communicating with a D, and you're leaving them a message, you will hear them very concise, very specific, rapid to the point. They will be, cool and energetic. They'll sound like a human telegram. This is Smith, leave me a message, or provide the number. They'll speak quick. So you kind of are getting the feel and the flow as to what they're going to do. Now, if you are leaving a D, a message, and you're a D, you're going to be fine. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? You don't need to tell them what day it is and what time it is, because they're going, no joke, stupid. My phone tells me that. Now, 20 years ago, you probably did. And 20 years ago, you probably need to tell them, wait for the tone. Remember, okay, who's as old as I am? No, nobody's as old as I am. But who remember, I'm seeing hands pop up. When we first got cell phones, we used to have to say, please wait for the tone, because if not, people would call, and then the minute that started, they would start talking. And you only got the last half of their message. And we used to have to tell them, please wait for the tone, okay? Or don't be stupid. Wait for the tone, then start talking, all right? We don't need to do that anymore. Now, unless somebody's not made a phone call in the last 20 or 30 years, okay? They've been in a coma and didn't even know phones, went from the crank, 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 So, yeah. So, but if you're leaving a DM message, quick and to the point, okay? You do not want to ask them, so how's your day going? How's the weather? They're going, what do you need? All right? What I want you to do is stop and think about, who do you know, either at home or here at the office, that is a D that would respond to something like that? Okay, that's the fun, all right? Now, let's talk about how, on page 8, if it's an I. hey, it's Lynn, your favorite realtor, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to be warm. We're going to be friendly. You know, no, you don't need to leave the date, time, or the, you know, wait for the tone. But you're going to hear more of a robust type of message. Sorry, I missed your call, that type of thing. Make sense? Okay. When we get over to the S's, in a greeting, they'll be friendly, they will be professional, but they're not going to be as wired up as the I's sometimes are. They're going to be a little more calm, a little more soft-spoken maybe, calm, cool, and collected. Thank you for calling. I'm sorry that I can't get to you right now. Please leave me the message. And then in the same token, when you hear them leaving you a message, you should be able to pick up on some of those nuances as well. Okay? All right. Over to the C in leaving a voice message. Again, they're wanting to make sure that you are going to leave them with as the information that's needed. So you may hear, leave me the property in which you're calling about, or any questions so I can get prepared when I call you back. That's often, it's a dead giveaway of a C as well. Okay? At your leisure, read through those bullet points on pages 8 through 10, and that'll kind of help pull it together for you. We good? We good. Okay. All right. Now, here's some tips on emailing, because a lot of our communication, of course, is via email. Now, when you are dealing with a D, and again, in the beginning, you don't know necessarily what they are. So take a look at when they email you. What is the tone that it's coming in at? Boom, da da boom, da da boom, da da boom. Now, they may say, Kevin, blah, 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 blah. They may not say, hello, Kevin. How are you, Kevin? No, they don't have time for that. In their fast pace, getting to the point, that is just all fluff. So if you see that, you can kind of start guessing they're probably a D. Respond back in the same tone. It's called mirroring, or becoming that chameleon. Mirror them back with, Susan, boom. In response to your question, boom, da da boom, da da boom. Again, bullet points are great. Not big, long sentences that run all the details and the data together. They want to be able to skim it, get it, and move on. Okay? I'm seeing the D's nodding their head right now, which is good. All right. When you are emailing an I, you will always start with, or you'll hear them respond back to you, very friendly, very energetic, smiley faces added to their emails. I'm sorry, it goes on auto, I can't help it. It's just like, boom, yep, I can't send an email without the smiley face at the end of it, because I want you to know I'm smiling back at you, okay? But when you start communicating with someone, probably a client or those involved in the transaction, look at the style of their first email or two. That'll give you a really good indication as to how they communicate. You may not be able to identify right away it's a D, an I, an S, or C, but you're going to go, okay, I know to mirror them. I know to respond back in a similar style, and with that, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So that will help. And don't ever email an I without, hey, how are you? Because the next question is going to be, I'm sorry, are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Yeah, I'm getting, yeah. So when you're dealing with your eyes, and again, you can sense that, yeah, they're figuring it out. Hey, how are you? Hope you're having a great day. There you go. Or you end your emails with the same way. Have a great day, talk to you soon. Now, if you're going to say, have a great day, talk to you soon to a D, they're going to go, have a great day, I've already made plans, and talk to you soon when? Okay? If you're dealing with a high D, you want to respond back to them is based on the information you have requested, I'll get back with you, or be prepared to hear from me by tomorrow at noon. Now, manage the expectations. And when do you respond back to them? When you said you would. Or earlier then. Yeah, do not start the email at noon because now you're late. Okay? You will have it prepared ahead of time, even if you let it sit. Now, most emails you can time it to go out if you have to. There you go. All right? You get it to them at 11:55 to 11:59. Per our previous conversation, the information you asked for is enclosed. Boom. Gotta go, bye. Mic drop, walk away. Okay? Short, sweet, to the point. Your eyes, you better have. Hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon, and soon is fine because that's whenever. All right? Yes, it becomes fun and funny as well, and it's okay. All right. Now, let's talk about the S's just a little bit. Again, you're going to have a friendly, hello, hi. It may, if it's a batch email, it may be, hi everyone. If it's personal, it's going to be, identified, hey Susan's, it was good to hear from you, or good to see you yesterday, blah, 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 and then you go into it from there. But again, when you get your first email from them, do take a look at their style. That is going to tell you way more than you anticipate. All right. When you're emailing those S's, you want to make sure, especially if you're an I, that you've made sure that it's well organized. It is methodical. Don't tell them step 5, 6, 7, then 1, 2, 3. It needs to be done in order. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Okay, don't come at it and go backwards. You're going to frazzle them out, right? When you are emailing them, again, we got some notes on page 13 there for you to reference. Again, you want it well planned. You want it friendly. You want it, again, bullet pointed down as much as possible. Get them the information they asked for you. Now, this also may mean that if they've sent you an email with various topics in it, what I will do sometimes so I don't miss a point, you can't answer yes, because they're going to pop a cork. I asked you 5 things and you're telling me yes? Yes to what? Okay? No. Okay? So an easy way to do that is just type in there, see below, and I'll usually put it in color. So whether it be purple, red, blue, green, whatever. And then in each bullet point below, I will type the answer to that specific question and then hit the return, which will then start spacing it out. So when they go back and look at it, they're going to go, oh, wow, you didn't miss a beat. You didn't miss a question. Because there's nothing that drives, especially the D's, batshit crazy, was with, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good to what? I asked you 4 different things. Yeah. Yeah. So that is probably the best tip for when you're responding to a lengthy email that's got several questions in it, is just say, see answers below highlighted in red, or you can highlight it in, with like the yellow highlighter thing, whichever. But that way you know you've not left anything unanswered. Because if you do that to an S or C, they're going to go, what the heck? Or they may say something else. You don't know, but you don't want to do that, okay? All right. Last thing we want to hit is when you're communicating via email to a C. Now, again, they're very task-orientated and data-driven. So anytime you can reference in there, here is the data you asked for. Here is the information you've asked for. Please double-check it for me. Oh, they just think you're wonderful at that point because you're able to talk to them. Now, you Ds that are high Ds, you do, and that's not going to be in your normal, natural style. I get it. But if you realize that they probably are, and a quick sentence of, here's the information you asked for, and then if it's appropriate, obviously for the topic, can you take a look and double check this? Did I get everything? Okay. If you remember in the class, the best one-liners, and I know I've covered it in other classes as well, after buyer consultations, seller consultations even, when you respond back by email to a client that says, when we met, here's what I heard you say that was important to you about either your purchase or your sell, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, and then the closing comment of, how did I do? Did I get it? Did I miss anything? You have now just won those S's and C's over off the Richter scale. And your D's are going to appreciate it because they're going, okay, they don't want to waste my time. They're making sure that they got the point across. All right? That is why I've highlighted those. So did I miss anything? Did I get it right? Is there anything else that needs to be added? Because that speaks to them, even though that may not be your natural speaking to you. Make sense? Okay, good. All right. So keep that in mind. It's becoming that chameleon. We joke about it, but that's what it is. And if you don't, that's fine. But guess what? You're going to lose. You're going to lose out on 1/4 to 1/2 of your potential business because the 2 personality styles that you're the strongest in, you'll gravitate and work with them. The other 2 that you could have adapted to, either you're going to choke them out or they're going to choke you out. And you're going to lose them. Okay? We make too much money in this business. Yes, we work for it. But by not understanding how to mirror them and meet them in the middle, you are literally tossing away 1/3 to 1/4 or 1/4 to 1/2 of your potential business. So let me ask you a question. At that point, does it make sense to understand this and understand the value that it brings to the table? Yes? I'm seeing heads nods. Give me thumbs up, people. Okay. All right, good. Yep, I'm getting it. All right. So another point I want to make as we get ready to wrap down is by knowing your disc, where your strength is, it also lets you see where your blind spot is. Okay? Why do you think mirrors have cars attached to them? Why do you think cars have mirrors attached to them? And multiple mirrors. Okay? So you can also identify your blind spot. Because what happens if you're not aware of what's in your blind spot? You're going to hit them. And if it's a semi, it's going to hurt. Just saying. Not that I've ever done it, but I've seen a few crashes on the road. But by knowing and understanding the disc and how it plays a part, it's going to allow you to see, but more important, I hope, understand that blind spot. Now, you can blow this all away and say, you know what, Lynn, I don't care about any of this. That's fine. But understand, you're going to be losing 1/4 to 1/2 of your business. So don't come crying on my shoulder when you've done presentation after presentation after presentation after presentation, and you've not gotten any of the listings or any of the buyers to sign with you. Because I'm going to sit back and say, why do you think that happened? Okay. Know that what got you here, your natural ability, is only going to take you to a certain point in your business. In order for you to run your business with greater volume, more effective, more efficient, with less headaches, understanding DISC and some of these other key components are going to make all the difference in the world in your business. Okay, are all of you starting to see that? I need some heads nodding. Let me see some heads going. Okay, good. All right. So this allows you to see what's in your blind spot. Now, let's take a quick second and talk about tips on showing homes to your DISC profile people that, again, you don't know what they are. Now, you could do a DISC assessment with them. Probably not likely that's going to happen. But in case you did, oh, I got to tell you a cute story. I don't know if I told this in the other class or not, but many, many years ago when I was teaching in California, one of the first DISC classes I did at this big office, I gave them their homework and they were to do the DISC assessment overnight and bring it back to me the next day in class. And Tony, one of my guys, said, okay, but then he had a date that night. So the gal showed up, they were going to go out to dinner, and he goes, oh, shoot, I forgot. I need to do my DISC assessment and mail it to Lynn tonight before class tomorrow morning so she can review it before class goes on tomorrow morning. So he says, you know, I just need 10 minutes, you know, to do this. And so she's okay. So she starts asking, so what is this all about? Tony was no dummy. He got her to take it too. He paid for it, because it was like whatever, 19, 20 bucks, whatever it was. Smart man. He brought me his DISC assessment, and then he gets me hers. I said, so where are we compatible? Where do I need to be careful at? I cracked up laughing. I said, Tony, only you would pull this off. The only one I ever knew that was able to pull that one off. And guess what? They're still together. So just cute, okay? So having some fun with this. So if you're showing a D, a house, we've already kind of shared some things. I'm going to hit them again for you just as a quick reminder. With a D personality type, they want to know year built, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, you know, what tax payments are, what the numbers are, what the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da is. They do not care it's got a cute kitchen. Now, if it's got a golf putting green out back and they're a golfer, that may be important to them. If they need a man cave, having the basement, that may be important to them. If there's a 5-car garage, that may be important to them. But all the other fluff and stuff may not be important to them, okay? So again, you want to go fast data, fast data. Now, if you're going to be out showing properties to the D, here's what you do. Get them in the car, obviously. Well, we don't do that so much anymore, but you get the idea of it, okay? So you go and you see the properties. You come back and say, you know, again, we show you how to do the assessment after each preview. Okay, so, you know, what do you think if you had to make a decision today, which would be your first, second, and third choice of the houses? Okay, great, fine. You've got them in your car. You pull up in front of their house. You open the door, push them out, and say, let me know what you decide, and you take off Mach speed. They're going to go, phew, dang, they're good. I like her. Boom. They're a happy camper. They're laughing, okay? Now, if you got a client in your car and you're thinking, and this goes for you Ds that are dealing with an S and C, and you go, okay, either start drinking or, wait a minute, if I can take this next exit, which zoops around at 90 miles an hour and have them fall out of the car and make it look like an accident, I'm good. Probably not a client you want to be working with, okay? Or you understand what their DISC is, mirror them a little bit, and cry all the way to the bank, okay? Make sense? Got it, okay? If you're dealing with an I and you're showing homes, especially if it's I'm going to say the lady of the house, and there's kids especially, and there's a fenced yard, what's going to be important to them? The fact that, and again, a lot of times by the time you get to, you know, to start previewing a couple of houses, you kind of got a feel of what's important to them. And then you'd say, okay, so where would you put the Christmas tree? That's going to tell you a lot right there. Or what color are you going to paint the room? Now they're customizing it. Now they're bringing it in. Now they're making it their own. That's what's going to be important to the eyes. If there's a dog park around and you know they've got a dog, which again, if you've done your buyer consultation right up front, you know they've got dogs, and then that's going to be an important part of their puzzle. Okay, there's a dog park within walking distance of the house. That's going to be important to them. It's the environment that's going to make it fun, and that's where you want to highlight as well. If you're working with the S, what do you think is going to be important to them? The numbers, and that it's a safe and secure, what appears to be a safe and secure neighborhood. It may be a gated community. It may be the schools are going to be important, especially if there's kids or school-age kids around. So again, when you've done the initial buyer consultation, and if you go back and re-listen to part 2 of the buyer consultation, we talk about how you ask the key questions. When you do the needs and wants assessment, this is where these puzzle pieces start coming in at. Why is that important? How do you see yourself living there? Where does that, how does that, why is that important to you? Then where the other pieces, puzzle pieces fit in. So it's not just a one and done. And yes, I cannot get through a class without throwing puzzle pieces around. That's what I do. There you go. All right. So, but the important thing is when you do the buyer consultation up front and you ask those key questions, and why is that important? How do you see this going to help, bring value to your living arrangement or environment or whatever? Now you know and can read them a little bit better. So by doing that up front, followed up with the how did I do email that comes after the assessment, you've gone into a deeper level. This is going to then start surfacing. You're going to go, okay, I got it. And instead of wanting to choke them out or kill them, or them, you understand how they think and how they function a little bit better. Make sense? All right. So when you're dealing with a C as well, again, you want to make sure that you're giving them time to look over and review the materials in which they need to sign. Best thing you can ever do is, especially if you're doing a buyer and they want to read the buyer consultation or the buyer broker agreement first, trust me, they're going to want to read everything else from that point forward. So at that point, you say, hey, I got a great idea. How about if I get you a sample copy of some of the other documents? It's not the contract. It's a sample of some of the other documents that are going to come up. That way you guys or you can read them thoroughly, keyword with them, thoroughly before we have to put pen on paper. Oh, they just think you are the best thing ever. And they go, oh my God, that'd be awesome. Now, you Ds are going, I would have never thought of doing that in a million years. You're right. But you're about ready to choke out that S or C because they're being a pain in the butt and they won't sign the stuff until they read it. But if you are able to understand that, give it to them, no skin off your nose, now you're able to communicate better. Okay? Mirror them. All right. Boom. There we go. Quick reference. Your Ds, their priority is solving the problems. What is a real estate transaction? Nothing more than solving problems. Okay? What is the next step? What is the next problem? What is the next step? What is the next problem? Your I, their priority is people. Okay? Are we going to have a good time? Are we going to have fun? You always try to have coffee with them every couple of times you have to go out. Your S's, is there a plan? Do you have a plan, a marketing strategy mapped out in your buyer consultation or your seller consultation as to how you're going to walk them through this process? The answer better be yes. And we're going to be doing some fine-tuning on some stuff that we've done already. But they need to know that you've got a systemized plan mapped out. Now you're talking their language. But when you come in cold up front, you don't know what they are. Again, this is why the buyer consultation, seller consultation is done in the manner in which it is done. Boom, got it. All right? The other thing, let me say on that real quick, is who is it that likes to take notes? Your S, right? Okay, the D's do too sometimes. But once in a while they do. Once in a while they do, but mainly your S will go, I'm gonna, can I take notes? This is why when we've talked about how you're going to format your buyer or your seller consultation, either A, have a page in the back for notes, or have it on a paper, a quality of paper that they can write on. So the super fancy glossy pages, although it looks nice, is useless to them because they can't write on it. Or if it's a solid color with your pretty font all over it, that's useless to them because they can't write on it. So that is the logic behind why it's important that there is a lot of white space, bullet point lists, so A, they can see that, and they can write on it. Doing, okay? Your C's, again, is procedures. They want to know it's accurate, they want to know the procedures in place, and they want to know that you've got it already figured out. And that is where the buyer consultation and the seller consultation, God, it's something like a broken record, okay? But that's where that comes in and comes so valuable, is they see that you've got it together. Now you're speaking their language, even though you're not even sure what their language is up front, okay? All right. Here's a couple quick ones, then we're going to go to questions and answers here in a second. So if this is you, you know what? Pretty even, Stephen. You can flex and flow with everybody pretty nicely, not a big problem. This one, again, your S's and C's, but if they've got to talk to an I or a D, they're going to get a little more frustrated because the agent is the high or the client is the high and you're the other side. That's where the challenge comes in. All right, what about this one? Okay, if you are a high D and this is your client, they're going to be intimidated by you because you're going to stomp all over them. Oh, I know. But they'll want to have fun. Okay, they're going to want to know there's a system and everything's checked. Now, if you're an agent and this is you, and you need to negotiate a contract, call Katie. Yeah. Because if you're a low D as an agent, and you've got to go toe-to-toe with another agent to try to get your offer accepted, you better be able to play hardball. And someone who is a low D that's an agent is going to have a tougher time doing it. Now, let me say, you can do it. You can do it. Remember writing with your right hand, writing with your left hand? You can do it, but what's going to happen is it takes more energy from you to do it. So if you know that your D is almost non-existent, and you're working with a D, or you're working with another agent who's a D, and you identify that, that's putting your body armor on, saying, okay, I can do this, but make sure that you are well rested, are clear mind, have stayed hydrated and not with alcohol, all right, water, because that's what your brain is made out of, is water. Make sure that you're hydrated so you can be at your best, because again, you're going to have to function out of your normal comfort zone. Now, can you do it? Darn right you can do it, okay? People always talk about going out of their comfort zone. No, you just stretch, you know, like the rubber band, you stretch and enlarge your comfort zone. Now, going out of your comfort zone is jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. That's going out of your comfort zone. It also rates as stupidity, but yeah, that is crazy, okay? So if you're a low D and you've got a client or another agent who's a high D, you just kind of know that, all right? So, but same thing on this side. You're high D, high I, but your S, they're just going, give me the paper, I'll sign it. What did I sign? Those are the ones you got to be careful of, because those are the ones that are going to come back and say, wait a minute, what did I sign? So that's where that can become dangerous as well. Again, your S and your C, they're going to know the rules. If they're an agent, they're going to follow them. They're going to dot the I's, cross the T's. All right? Become the chameleon. Become the chameleon. That's hopefully the takeaway. There's some cute videos online. If you want to have a good giggle, go onto YouTube and bring up the disc. There's some really funny ones. Your D says, do you really want to argue with me? Bring it on. I'm always ready. Okay? Your I is, no matter what, it isn't my fault. I was fabulous. Okay? Your C is going, I don't want to talk to you now that I'll be back in 10 minutes with proof that you're wrong. Okay? And your S is going, I don't want to argue, so let's say you're right and I'll pretend to forget about it. Okay? So just a little tongue in cheek. It's okay to have fun. All right, quick reminders. This is just mainly just taking all these pieces of the puzzle and putting it together for you. This is where they all come in. None of this stuff is standalone. it talks one against and supports the, up against the other. So some fun additional things that are available to you as the Samson Toolbox with the little cardinal on the side is mastermind classes with David. Tuesday, Sarah puts out the Tuesday tidbits. There's the coffee with Casey. There's the Thursday's Q&A. And of course, as always, drumroll, the sales meeting. All right. So boom, there you have it. Now, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's get into Be the Uncola. Think outside the box. Remember, I don't care what you know. I want to know what you're doing with what you know. So, master in the background with the microphone in hand. Can you come and get us started on what is the aha? What is the takeaway? And yes, I have candy to throw at you with cute little sayings on them. I can. All right, who's starting?
I got the mic.
Okay.
All right. Very simple concept. For every style, the key basically is to mirror.
Yes.
That's it. You mirror whoever you're talking to. And there's one thing that struck me, and I can speak as a D, and I imagine everybody has their own experience with their respective style, that when I'm dealing with someone who's not a D, I can have a tendency to think that if they're not like me, I may misinterpret that as they're not interested because they're not boom, 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 let's get this done. So I may look at that like they don't want to do this or they don't want me or something like that and take that in the wrong way. You know, and now since working with you and taking your classes, Lynn, I've learned, I have started, and it's effective to say, your next step is this, my next step is this, and it really makes a difference. It paces me, and what's happening is I'm understanding that, it's not that this person and I are not a match, it's that they're a certain way, and I have to accommodate them.
Absolutely.
And I'm doing it. And it's like, it's okay. And sometimes it's but less and less because I'm like, well, they're just being who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're just being who they are. And it's up to me to take care of them. And that was part of taking care of your client is to give them what they need, right?
Understand what they need and provide it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not the ego marketing.
Yeah.
It is not the ego marketing. It's not the I'm great, I'm the wonderful, even though you may be. It's being open to hear what's important to them. Good job. All righty. I'm going to throw this.
Oh boy.
There we go. Laura, you're up.
So my aha and takeaway was that as being a high I, I'm fabulous and I'm not wrong. That's me all the day.
Yeah.
And that I talk in circles all the time. My husband's a high D, and he's like, "Can you just get to the point?" I'm like, "No, I have to talk in circles. That's how I do it. Like I use a lot of words. You have to know the backstory. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then the other thing is, I just wanted to give a little tidbit of information that I found out with dealing with buyers, especially if you're showing more than one house in a day, which probably doesn't happen right now because there's not more than one house on the market. But however, what I always do is I always print out the client copy of the MLS, and as we're walking in the house, I give them a pen and I have a clipboard and I flip it over and I say, okay, so write your notes exactly what you like about this house specifically and what you don't like about this house, because after 6 or 7 they all mesh together.
Yeah.
So that's really helped me a lot, and that's really helpful for, I guess, the S's maybe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
also in the buyer consultation, I think it's attached as part 1, 2, and 3. I think it's attached onto each one is a sample of a buyer consultation, and in there is a sheet that you would love. So go in and find it and pull it out, and it's evaluate how would you rate this home, and that is right up the avenue. Good job. Whoops. Thank you, ma'am. All righty.
Okay, so I got the mic now, and this was a refresher for me because I've done these disc things several times. But what the takeaway was on this one was the actual emailing. I have never heard that brought up before. So now I will
Good.
start looking at the styles of emails when clients are sending me information so that I can interpret ahead of time what type of person that I might be dealing with. So,
Excellent.
as always, the more you know, the more you grow.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can fling this one out. Ready? Boom. Okay. Huh? Yes.
All right. So, takeaway. I have a couple of clients right now under contract, and I think it just helps me to understand them a little better. One is asking a ton of questions, some that I've never had before. I'm learning a lot, and then the other one is just like, I trust you for everything. So
Two
just kind
very
of be
different
accommodating
styles.
to, very different styles, just be accommodating to whatever their style is.
Exactly. Exactly. Very good. Very good. Okay, come on, catch. Ready, heads up. Boom. Nice. Okay.
I'm a new agent. I'm just following around my brother. But I think this is a good reminder to just know that you can get clues from anything, from emails, phone conversations, about someone's communication style. This is kind of similar to if anyone's read like the 5 love languages in marriage. Everyone communicates a different way or has different things that they think are important. So I think for clients, you have to figure out what's important to them and then communicate in that way. So it's a good reminder. This disc
Excellent.
method here.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Ready. Duck. Catch up. Catch, catch. This way. Yeah. Chikoong. Okay. What was your aha takeaway?
Well, thank you for this training.
welcome.
For me, it was to be able to recognize the people that I meet, because I meet a lot of buyers, not so much sellers. So I try to observe everything, but I feel like this training just make me or allow me to recognize that I've been observing the wrong things.
Ooh,
And-
okay.
Yeah, so if I was able to observe the right personality trait of these buyers that I've been meeting, I would have been able to connect with them a little bit more. So now I have that in the back of my head, something to look out for when I
Excellent.
meet them.
Okay, good, very good. And while you're kind of, looking at what do I need to look at next, if you're working with obviously a bunch of buyers right now, go ahead and check out the buyer consultation. There's part 1, 2, and 3 in Samson University. It's going to be a game changer for you as well, because it's going to give you some tools, the logic, the science behind all of it, and why it's important, and where the pieces fit in with one another. So excellent. All right, ready? Can you catch? Laura, you better duck. Woo! All right, now you guys are really going to test my arm in the back. All right, go for it, ladies.
Hello, Lynn. Thanks for the class.
You're welcome.
My takeaway is there's some of the tips like D is what, and I is who, and S is why, and C is how. So kind of like give you tips of how to identify, your clients. My quick question is that if I have clients like a D, and I'm a D, and we're head to head, like sometimes, it may not necessarily be like 100% good thing, depends on,
There could be a little power struggle
Yeah,
there.
right.
As say who's going to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
understand, you understand that they want, they want information rapid fire, okay? Because that's kind of how you are as well. And I think only the Ds, a D working with a high D, are going to have what I would call it maybe a power struggle. And, so it's just a matter of saying, okay, so what information did you find valuable? Where do we go next? Where do we go next? Why didn't this home meet your needs? So if you're looking at stuff, and they can't, again, make sure that you're doing the buyer and seller consultation with them, whichever one applies, obviously, not both at the same time. But make sure they do the assessment of what's important to them, what are they looking for, why is that important. And so we go through that in the buyer side and the seller side as well. Is what are you looking for, why is that important, how are you going to use that, because again, it's bam, 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 bam. And that will definitely help you when you come back to show them and say, okay, based off our assessment, you told me you were looking for a this, a this, a this, a this. This home has all 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not going to, submit in an offer, why? One word, why? What did it not have that you're looking for? And they will identify it, hopefully. So.
Let me tell you another story. I have a client that took the client out for like half a year, wrote 3 contracts and 3 of them, and at the end, it's under contract and he's like hesitating. Okay, this home inspection have some problem and never did buy and never married the girlfriend. He never married the girlfriend. They were getting together for so long, and before
There's more to this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I meet this guy, and he asked me to explain the whole contract, and I did. And then we go show houses, but I mean, is this S or C? S, right? But that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
would
like
say probably more
that
on,
really
on
makes
the,
me think.
on the CS in there because
Yeah.
again, afraid of change, afraid of making a commitment, afraid of making the wrong decision, and so he's going to analyze into paralysis.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I think the
Yeah.
market and all the houses that he have looking at right
Mhm.
now is like almost doubled. It's too late for him.
Yeah,
Probably the wife already gone
maybe
too.
too late
The
for him on
girlfriend.
a lot of things, not just on the house. But yeah, those are a little more challenging. But again, go back to the basics. Go back to the wants and needs assessment. You told me this is what you were looking for. This meets those criteria. Why are we putting the brakes on? Why are we putting the brakes on? So, yeah. And sometimes too, gang, I'm gonna say something here. Sometimes they have baggage that even the best counselor and therapist in town can't fix. So to think that we can fix it or solve it, we'd like to because we know there's a dollar value attached to it. But, sometimes, again, we can't fix the problems that are out of our control. And I've seen people were like that. They just drove themselves into, oblivion, into old age alone because they couldn't make a decision on anything. And then, you've got some that make all the wrong decisions, but live life and are happy campers. And same thing when you're talking about financial of people. If they've got themselves into a financial mess, I'm sorry, that's not your job to fix. And if they're not ready, willing, and able to work on it and fix it themselves, you can't fix it for them. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I've done everything you've asked me to do. We've determined your wants and needs. We've shown you properties that met your wants and needs. What's holding you back? Why are you putting on the brakes? And again, when you don't have the consultation and the wants and needs assessment done, you got nothing. That's your trump card, and you don't have it. So then you struggle on what to say to them because they can't make a decision. So yes, mirror them, be the chameleon, understand where they're coming from, but in the same token, realize that sometimes the best therapist in town can't fix what's bugging them. Okay? All right, good. Thank you. All right. I'm going to throw these back there. I'm going to come halfway. All right, y'all better duck. Oh! Did that bounce off? All right, Deb, this one's coming. Okay, you. Oh. Yeah. All right. Share with me your aha takeaway, Miss Lady, friend back there, Deb.
Well, thank you again for
Oh,
this
you're
part.
welcome.
I
It's always good to
used
see you in class.
the first part one to really get to know the 32 plus agents I coach weekly, those who show up. But you're taught in law school to deliver the answer to the professors 9 words or less.
Yep.
So in law school, you are taught to be a dominant. If you can't take that reign, then you're not going to do well, especially when you practice. So for here, I think you have to be, if you're in listings, you must be schooled and skilled, because you are jumping into the fire, perhaps not even have met these people. So I was at a listing presentation yesterday. I was fortunate enough to speak with them telephonically last December. And when the colonel asked me, "What is your body of work?" I knew what he wanted. He wanted explicit, succinct, 9 words or less. What is your body of work? So, pardon? I said I only usually work with clients who are 900,000 and above, because that's what he wanted to hear, and knowing that kind of MO. So, but what I really liked about this particular session is, just as everyone else said, emails are very important. I find myself too, here it is. I don't need thank you. I don't need hello, have a good day. I deliver that way to the people I know who want it that way. And then there are people who like it the other way. So we talked about, the flowers and the kisses and the love, and that's fine. So it's probably one that I think the best classes here is to determine who you are and how, more importantly, you're going to gravitate out there with your buyers and especially with your sellers. So, so this has really helped me. And the aha especially was, you must be conscious enough that you can't deliver to them really until you know who they are. Easier for buyers because you get to know them as you drive them around, but not sellers. You're jumping right in. You better figure it out very, very soon. So,
And that's where the the seller consultation is worth its weight in gold and priceless. And it is I don't want to say danger, but it's going to hit you financially if you do not have one.
that's right. Leave your ego at the door. And so I really wish I had this when I was on my third marriage. Even though I've been married 35 years now, I have to know that I was a D. He was definitely not a D.
Yep.
So,
Yep, very good. So
Thank
you
you.
mentioned law school. Are you a Juris Doctorate?
pardon?
Are you a JD?
No, I went to law school until I had to stop when my second husband was killed.
Okay,
So,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you.
Because I was going to say, y'all know what JD stands for,
JD,
Juris Doctorate?
Juris Doctor.
No, it actually stands for juvenile delinquent.
Ju-
So, according to a good friend of mine. So, and if he's watching, he's going to have a good laugh at that one. So, anyway, well, thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us. Whether you're live streaming, or going to be watching it later. This, again, is, I believe, one of the major backbones in our business. Again, you need to become that chameleon. You need to understand how to communicate with the others. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But just know you're going to be missing up to a half of your potential business. Are you okay with that? If not, learn a few tricks, learn a few tips, and go out, be wonderful, be successful. With that, I will say thank you as always, and go be great, be wonderful. We'll see you in the next class. Okay, thank you, thank you. Is that a wrap? That's a wrap.